VPP and Polker, the only two tokens you need to hold for the upcoming 10x. Hi there, in this video I will tell you how I made 12x on VPP and 10x on Polker, why I did not sell and did not take profits, and how do I plan to hold them moving forward. So let's start with us watching Bible instructions from Papa Alex on how to play this market.
The herd of people, as JRNY would say, we're trying to go and get here before everybody else, get this, and then savagely dump on them.
Yeah, so that's kind of how do you play the market. It's player versus player. I lost 200k myself last cycle, and that's exactly what was happening. It's just that I thought that I was not the one who's dumping. It's just that I thought that I will be making more money and I'm the smart guy, but I wasn't. So speaking of VPP, it's very important to understand why the token essentially surged in the first place, why people were buying it, what kind of thoughts they had in the first place, and why do they buy it still, despite the fact that they dumped and Becker did not actually mention it in his video. So the whole narrative here was that people were buying is because it was a narrative that Becker would essentially mention VPP in the video, because there was some buzz going around Neotoken that they're discussing this token, and the founder of VPP is also, I think, in the Neotoken. And at the same time, you basically had the fact that Becker was shilling this product a lot. Like 2 years ago, he was almost mentioning it in his every and each video. So it was a high chance that it will basically going to happen. So I was buying, I put 2k at 006, I put 10k more at 002. Unfortunately, of that 10k, I sold 8. Here I did nothing, and here people were basically buying in anticipation that Becker would mention it in the video. And here basically the video came out. So it's a very interesting thing, because the dump, it did not happen until, I would say, 10-15 minutes after the video actually is published. So it's a nice edge that you can have, because in one of the communities that I'm in, after 2 minutes of the publishment of the video, I knew already, because one guy, he basically provided the whole list of the tokens that were mentioned and that were not mentioned. And he specifically outlined that VPP and PKR and Polker were not mentioned. So it kind of was easy to sell here, not to participate in the dump, and not to ride the whole thing here, because you're not sure if it rides down here, you're not sure if it won't go down, you're not sure if it will go up. And very important thing is that this dip, it was eating quite speedy, I would say, and it's very important to understand why people were buying and what's kind of the narrative that they were following when they were essentially buying this out from these dips. And in order to do this, I would like to check another part of his video.
Market cap levels I'm comfortable talking about. There's another poker project I've been an investor in for a really long time. I talked about it a lot last bull run. It's a little bit too low right now, but it's flying up in users. Their team is put together. They're actually generating revenue. I'll probably talk about it a little bit later into the bull run when that ship has not sailed, but
that's all the information that we need at this stage. So it's a poker project, they're generating revenue, they have a team. He was shilling it a lot last run. Yeah, it's very interesting, because it's obviously, there's a high chance it's VPP, but let's say we're not sure at this stage, because there is still Polker on the market and it might be it. And yesterday, one of the guys, he basically just asked, and Becker responded to this. So the guy asked, what's this dirty red flag microcap gem Alex Becker flashed in his new video, 6 market gamified token, and he made an assumption that it's VPP, and it's a real account of Alex Becker, 900 subscribers, followers, and green check mark is there. And it's quite interesting, because I thought that it would have a lot of views, but it only has 4k views, and here 6k views as well. So it's not relatively a lot of people still basically knowing about the things like that. So at this stage, we can say 100% that he mentioned VPP. He thought about VPP. He wanted to say it, but he didn't. And he would probably tell about VPP in the upcoming alt season that we probably might be getting, although I think that we will probably see a correction on Monday. So what about Polker? Do you think it's dead? Do you think it's over? I don't think so. And a very interesting thing happened yesterday. So if you would check on the coin market cap, yeah, it's did a 2x, nice, it's going down. But the interesting things that are happening on MEX. MEX is a very nice exchange for me, because it has both Polker, both VPP, and bobo as well. And if you know, if you've been watching one of my videos, when I was buying bobo on Uniswap, I actually got overrun by MEF bots, and I lost a lot of funds when I basically just put 10k and things like that. Here I can just set limit order and just buy the whole thing, and you can check out Mac's link in the video and kind of sign up for your account there. So if you would see on Max, it was 0.001 yesterday, right? And in 3 to 4 hours, it actually went up to 0.04. So it's 4x. An interesting thing that at this 4x, I was sitting behind my Mac and I was doing this like limit market, limit market, limit market. So this is half of the amount that I have because the other half is on the wallet. And eventually I saw that there is a wall of selling orders at 0.057, 0.058. So I understood that probably the token won't go higher than that because it was just a wall of 10k sales. I've set up a couple of selling orders. And actually only one of them got filled out and only for 2.7k. So I sold 2.7k worth of Polker at 0.041. So it's 4x from 0.01s here. And at that stage, at 0.04, I actually had around 8 or 9x. So out of 9k I put initially, I had 80k worth of Polker. So currently we're obviously a bit down in comparison to that. I was kind of thinking of whether or not I should sell or whether or not I should kind of wait and things like that. So I'm very cautious about spending my tokens. And I would really like to understand and see if it's the right time to be selling these tokens. And interesting thing about the Polker is because you might be thinking that, oh, like, you know, he mentioned VPP, so Polker is probably dead. Nothing is going to happen for this token. Several things that's happening with Polker. So this month, they should have launch of the Android application. If you were watching Becker's video and checking out his Twitter, he's huge on mobile Web3 gaming because that's the part where a lot of people are essentially in. A lot of players, they do play mobile games, especially if we check out the Asia region. And at the same time, it's just a huge narrative here. So it's gaming, it's gamified, it's Unreal Engine 5, it's NFT, and it's mobile. And kind of missing part here is whether or not any influencer will be shilling this Polker token moving forward. And obviously the best kind of type of influencer that you can get here is Alex Becker because he's on gaming, he's on Gamify, he's about VPP and things like that. There are rumors that Polker should get a VC injection right after the launch of the Android application. So Android application is kind of the test for the VCs to see if the team can deliver. And once they will deliver, it's just a no-brainer type of deal for the VCs to basically come in. I have a strong anticipation, I would say, that Becker would be one of the VCs who would be putting money into Polker. And the main reason for that is because the way I got the call about VPP and Polker, there was a guy from Neo Tokyo, and the call happened about 2.5 weeks ago in one of the communities that I'm in. And he mentioned that Neo Tokyo is been discussing VPP and Polker internally. So I can't show you the whole message. I'm just showing you this part. And that's why in one of the previous videos I was saying that probably Neo Tokyo, they were buying out a VPP at around 200k market cap. And one of the theses of why I put this amount of money in VPP and Polker for me in the first place is that if you would check VPP Twitter, if you would just scroll down, you would see that they are hosting tournaments for Neo Tokyo using VPP, which is huge. You can just go on their Twitter, you can scroll down a bunch, and we would basically see very interesting thing that it was initially my thesis of why I bought it in the first place. So Neo Tokyo, you see, they are doing tournaments using virtual poker. So it's obviously that they would be buying it and they would be pumping it as well. And the guy also mentioned that there is also a screenshot of Becker saying that Polker is gonna moon in the bull. So that's why I have a strong understanding that if he's saying that is already a strong narrative just by itself. And there is a high chance that he might become this VC who would inject money in Polker and essentially push this narrative along with VPP. So I do really like those two projects. I know a lot of them. I'm sure 100% that they will be pumping it hard in the bull. The same thing that he was doing in the last bull as well. And the main thing is how we're going to play it out. So how do I plan to play it out? And the interesting thing that I also wanted to share is that I think that I kind of took part in the pump on Polker because I was sharing between different communities that, guys, if you missed VPP, feel free to check out Polker. So that's something quite interesting as well. So how do I plan to play this out? So in the first place, I wanted to provide you with an overview. So currently we have two tokens and they do not pump at the same time. So usually VPP pumps first and then Polker pumps second. How we might be able to play this out, how we might capitalize on this knowledge. I want to show you the chart from TradingView. So this is the chart of VPP price in comparison to Polker price. If we see these spikes, that's VPP essentially surging in value in comparison to Polker, then it's going down, and this means that Polker went up in value in comparison to VPP. VPP, Polker, VPP, Polker, VPP, Polker, VPP, Polker, VPP, Polker, VPP, Polker. So currently here I basically fixated 2.7k from my Polker, and what I've done, I've put it into VPP, because on this graph the comparison VPP is cheaper in comparison to Polker. And at the same time, for example, for our initial pump, so initially yesterday I got 35k out of this pump. So what I was able to do is basically, let's say I would take profits on 25% of it, so I would took out around 9k and I would put it into Polker. And if we would check the time here, it's essentially 12:55 p.m. Let's see, 12:55 p.m. on Polker yesterday. Yeah, so I would probably need to open up 12:55. I would put it right here. So 001. It's still before the 4x. So I would be able to make 4x on the profits that I made from VPP, which is quite interesting. And what I would be able to do next is take profits from this 36k here. Let's say take half of it, 18k, and put it back into VPP. And if I would be doing it right away, following this chart, so I would take this 18k and put them into the VPP, it's already corrected. So already my 18k in profits that I took from VPP, they will be more because VPP currently basically corrected in his price in comparison to Polker. So that's something, it's called basically rebalancing, and that's something that I'm planning to do with these two tokens moving forward. And you can basically be doing the same thing on the correction. So the goal is to have the same amount of dollar equivalent, so dollar value in VPP and Polker. And once one pumps, you just take profits from there and you put these profits into Polker, so it has the equivalent value of dollar. Then Polker pumps, you take amount from Polker, you put it in VPP. So in total, you basically increase the amount of tokens and you increase the amount of dollar value as well. That's a very nice and sound strategy, because this way you can multiply the access that you are getting on one of them. And at the same time, you don't have to know a lot of trading. So I'm not a trader myself. I don't know any technical analysis and things like that. It's just that following this chart, the price of VPP and USDT is very straightforward and very easy. The only issue is that the more we go, the lower this basically range will be becoming. So we will have less and less volatility there. However, I do assume that we would probably see a correction. And correction would lead to the fact that VPP and Polker, they will decrease in market cap. Therefore, they will have increased volatility. Therefore, one will pump after another, and therefore I will be able to make more money on it. So that's kind of the way how I do plan to play this out, how I do plan to increase the amount of tokens in VPP and Polker. And honestly speaking, I'm planning to have this type of play as my core play for the upcoming bull as well. I really like these tokens. I think they follow the narrative perfectly. They have the strongest crypto influencer on their end, strongest crypto gaming community on their end, and I think they're very strong. I think this would be my best bets to the 10 million goal by the end of 2025. Right, guys, let me know what you think. Again, you can buy all these tokens on MaxC and you won't have any commissions as on the DEX. I think it's a very sound plan, and that's something that I will be doing moving forward. Thank you. Cheers.